Namaskar. Today I'm going to talk about mind. What is mind? Mind is the collection of thoughts. What we see around us, what we see in this universe, all objects, happenings, everything we see around us are all creations of our mind. These are all illusions created by our mind. Mind is so powerful that it can create anything at will within the natural laws of the realm in which the creation is made. All things we see outside are illusions, and the illusions are created by our own mind inside us. As you know, quantum physics or quantum mechanics deals with nanoparticles. The entire objects in this world, the entire universe is made of atoms or subatomic particles, and whatever is true of subatomic particles can equally be true of all other bigger objects. Yes, these are also made of these nanoparticles. Quantum physics deals with this particle wave duality. If we take the case of light, in physics we have learned light travels in straight line. But we have also learned now that light travels in waveforms. How can both be true? The truth really depends on the observer. What we want to observe. Whether we want to observe the light traveling in waveform, then we have it traveling in waveform. We want to observe it traveling in straight line, we have it. This is what Indian philosophy, Indian Vedas and scripture says, that the observer, the act of observation and the observed are all one and the same. There is no distinction between the observer and the observed, or the act of observation. Seer, seen, and the act of seeing are all one and the same. In fact, the seer creates the scene in his mind, and he can perceive it outside. The act of seeing is his mind in action. Our mind is an offshoot of consciousness, or it is a shadow of consciousness. Vibrations or ripples in the universal mind created the universe, and the sound of this vibration is called Omkara, or the sound Om. We know the famous Einstein theory, E is equal to mc square, or energy is equal to mass times the square of the speed of light. which means all the objects in this world can be converted or are really energy. In fact, there are no objects, there are only illusions. What really exists is only energy in motion. Objects, mass, everything is the illusion created by our mind. What exists is only existence of energy in motion. To understand the true nature of this illusion, we have to come out of this illusion. Being part of the illusion, we cannot analyze it and we cannot recognize that it is an illusion. Being in the state of dream, we cannot realize that it is a dream. At least a part of your consciousness should be outside of the dream to realize that it is a dream. We know that we think with our brains. Do we really think with our brains? Or where all our thoughts are stored? Where we store the informations, all the data we collect? Do we really store it in our brain? That is what we learn. Is the brain a memory storage device? Or is the brain our mind? Or is the mind different from our brain? As per Indian rishis, mind is not the brain. And our thoughts are not stored in the brain. Thoughts are stored in the mind. And what is the function of the brain? The function of the brain is to store and retrieve informations in the physical form to the non-physical form of the mind. It helps in storing the informations in the mind. It helps in retrieving the informations from the mind. We have also learned certain kinds of thoughts are stored in certain areas of the brain. And certain functions of the body are controlled from certain areas of the brain. But the real fact is, the certain areas of the brain may be probably capable of retrieving the informations and storing the informations to the mind. And these areas may be capable of retrieving the informations from the mind. It doesn't mean that all the informations are stored in the brain itself. When one dies, the mind doesn't die along with his brain. He has a long journey to go even after his death. The memories are stored in his mind. In the non-physical form, to think, you don't require a brain. The mind thinks on its own. In the physical form, they require the help of the brain to think with your mind. Still, thinking is done by the mind with the help of your brain. We have some instances where we forget the names of some of our close friends of our childhood days. The name is, we feel that it is just coming up to our tongue, but it is not coming out. We find it irritable to have forgotten and not being able to remember that. And suddenly after some time, the name comes to us automatically, and then now we feel relieved. Is this the inability of the brain to bring out the name stored in its own cells? Or is it the inability of the brain to retrieve the information stored in the mind? Actually, it's temporary inability or delay in bringing or retrieving the information stored in the mind, not in its own cells. So, mind is not the brain, mind is above the brain. Indian rishis talk of all of us consisting of 5 sheaths, and these sheaths are known as Annamaya Kosha, that is our physical body, Pranamaya Kosha, ethereal body, Manomaya Kosha, mental body, Vijnanamaya Kosha, the body of the intellect, and Anandamaya Kosha, the body of bliss or super consciousness. Anandamaya Kosha is the state of Sat Chit Ananda, which is existence, consciousness, bliss. This is the actual thing or actual energy of existence. And Anandamaya Kosha is the same for everybody. At this level, all merge into one. There is no differentiation between different entities. All entities are one here at Anandamaya Kosha level. Yeah, at a lower level of Vijnanamaya Kosha, this is the level of intellect, level of consciousness, not super consciousness, level of consciousness or level of intellect. At this level, some differentiation start happening between individuals, though there are a very big chunk of common areas. Slight differences start happening here, slight vibrations of the emergence of separate entities. And at the level of Manomaya Kosha, here also there are a lot of common areas, which is called the universal mind. Within that common area, certain areas start diverting separately as individual minds. At this mind level, the separateness start forming. One start becoming many. Then again, Pranamaya Kosha, ethereal body, separate entities start existing, which are the Maya or illusions are in full force. The reality is getting forgotten. The reality of everybody being super consciousness is getting forgotten. And the separation to many from the one happens. And the thoughts form itself into bodies and objects. The mind creates objects. The mind itself becomes the objects. The mind sees the object. The mind creates objects. The mind becomes the object. As I said earlier, the observer observed and the act of observation, everything is one. These 5 sheets with where exactly the five sheets exist with respect to one another is depicted or shown in different ways. One is in one method of showing the different sheets, the outside is shown pranamaya kosha. The outer area is pranamaya kosha, and inside pranamaya kosha we show, the outside area is annamaya kosha, complete outside area annamaya kosha. Within the annamaya kosha, pranamaya kosha. Then within pranamaya kosha, manomaya kosha, and within manomaya kosha, vijnanamaya kosha, and in the middle, in the center, at the core of everything, it is super consciousness, Satchidananda, or blissfulness, which is called Anandamaya kosha. This is one way of showing it. It shows that the core of everything is consciousness, super consciousness. Another way of showing that five different sheets in relation to each other, one another, is Annamaya kosha is the innermost part. Then you expand a little. When you come out of the constraints of the Annamaya or physical body, encompassing the physical body, there is Pranamaya kosha. Beyond that, outside of it, there is Manomaya kosha. And further we expand. Outside of Manomaya kosha, there is Vijnanamaya kosha, the sheath of intellect. And beyond that, there is complete expansion. We expand everywhere. You are everything. You are all pervading. That kosha is Anandamaya kosha, or the kosha of blissfulness, or Satchidananda. All living and non-living beings we see in this universe and outside this universe, everywhere, are different forms of the same reality, which is super consciousness. In Gayatri Mantra, we pray to Sun God to illumine and to activate our intellect. We pray to Sun God because Sun is thought to be the most intelligent in the solar system. How can a non-living object can be the most intelligent one? Who said Sun is non-living? Everything in this universe is living things. There is no non-living thing. Hindu philosophy says in the solar system the most intelligent being is Sun. In the constraints of the solar system, one goes beyond that. Definitely is equivalent to the super consciousness, the most intelligent. It is said, Yad bhavam tad bhavati. This means, as you think, so you become. What you becomes is the result of your thinking, and you can decide what you want to become, or what kind of circumstances you want to go through, or what kind of life you want to live, or what kind of afterlife you want to have. Everything you can decide with your mind, because in fact your mind decides everything. The Universe is created out of your mind. You can change your future by changing your mind. Similarly, you can also change your past by changing your mind. Nothing is permanent, even your past is not permanent. Your past can be changed, your future can be changed by changing your mind in the present. Because all the past, the future, and the present all in the same, all happening simultaneously at the same time. The law of karma is an offshoot of this power of the mind. Any action when you do, you are thinking behind that action. What kind of thinking you are having at the time of doing that action, and what kind of thinking you have about the action after you have performed that action, that desires the result of the action. That is your karma phala. That's all. Perform good deeds coming out of good thinking, pure thinking, and have good results for our karmas. Thank you very much.